Number 10. Stylized Foxy. Stylized Foxy is scary in a different way. These designs tend to be a bit exaggerated and over the top, which is what makes them so terrifying to me. From elongated snouts to oddly organic looking eye patches that look like they're made of Foxy's skin. I mean, this whole stylized Foxy's face in general, it's a lot, and it definitely creeps me out. Just the way the flesh seems to be peeled back from his mouth and nose, I really don't like that. It definitely does not seem like your average performance-ready version of Foxy, but that's also what makes stylized Foxy so great, that he's over the top depending on the fan-made creation of him in either the scary or polished department, and sometimes in both. Number 9. Glamrock Foxy. I cannot lie that Glamrock Foxy looks pretty tame in comparison to some of the other fan-made creations on this list, but I do feel like all of the potential glam rock fan-made versions of both Foxy and the puppet would be the most terrifying ones to be integrated into this style, other than the already existing Monty, of course, who also looks fairly friendly but also like intimidating. Yeah, Monty creeps me out too, especially with all those sharp teeth. Some fan-made creations of glam rock Foxy feature him with sunglasses that completely obstruct his eyes, which I also find intimidating on these animatronics. I do not like not being able to see their eyes and knowing where they're looking. I want to see where those peepers are, you know, are they looking at me? Are they looking at me? Glamrock Foxy is also generally depicted as having quite a few sharp teeth showing, which also makes him kinda scary if you were to just see him in a dimly lit area backstage. Glamrock animatronics are still animatronics, which makes them pretty scary in general. There has also been a version that gave us a prosthetic mic in place of a prosthetic hook, which is weirdly more disturbing to me than a hook. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't know, prosthetic microphone on the end of your arm thing? It's not. I don't like it. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more fan-made versions of FNAF animatronics lists, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. And be sure to go check out our FNAF playlist. I think we've done like over 200 videos or something crazy on FNAF, so yeah, go check it out. You will be entertained for so long. Number 8. First Mate Foxy. This fan-made version was so prominent when I was looking at various fan creations that I could not ignore it. It comes from the fan-made game Sinister Turmoil. First Mate Foxy is obviously inspired by the Foxy from FNAF and is an animatronic who even shares his hook placement and eye patch placement with the main animatronic, original Foxy. He is dressed in tattered clothes, appearing like a first mate. I love his little sailor's bandana around his neck too. It's not scary, it's just a fun detail. While he may be dressed to look a little more friendly, First Mate Foxy is also in very rough shape, which is what makes his appearance so menacing. Haunted Foxy. Haunted Foxy has many different fan-made versions, with people offering their takes on Phantom Foxy, but also offering much brighter ghost-like versions as well. Haunted Foxy in general is depicted by fans as being more bright and neon than you might imagine. One creation imagines Haunted Foxy to be a character with blinding yellow eyes and a ghostly white but impossibly blinding stomach. Kind of weird, connecting its top half to its lower half. This version is still in shadow or burnt and tattered like the Phantom version, but also offers a bit more of a spectral, otherworldly vibe with its bright glowing features. Honestly, it kinda reminds me of some of the spooks we saw in Ghostbusters originally, who also seemed to ominously glow. Also, I love Ghostbusters. Let's all go watch Ghostbusters now. Let's all go. After this list. Let me finish this list first. Ignited Foxy. Ignited Foxy is a fan-made version that typically stands out due to the bright red of his eyes, which are like little flames radiating outward from his skull. Sometimes he also almost seems electrified, as though even being within his proximity could be dangerous because of how easily he could perhaps shock you. One version even seems to show Foxy with live wire feet and arms, at least that's how I would describe that. His eyes either glow red or more predominantly seem to be a bright, blinding white, and his legs and chest cavity are revealed, with his outer suit being torn away to reveal the endoskeleton underneath, which looks similar to a human skeleton in terms of layout. Like, not exactly, but I think you see what I'm talking about here. Sinister Foxy. This version of Foxy seems to be specifically characterized by his pointy, very sharp teeth. Like many of the other fan-made Sinister versions, he also sometimes has holes where his eyes would be, or alternatively has a white gear or bright light, but just in one eye, peering at you from the darkness. Sinister Foxy is made to look more menacing and intimidating, definitely not a version you could ever consider to be your friend, unlike original Foxy. This version appears to be more of a straight-laced foe. Some fan-made versions also showcase Sinister Foxy with a light at the back of his mouth or his throat, as though beckoning you to enter and be consumed. Do not let Foxy eat you. His teeth are very pointy, it would not be pleasant. Stylized Nightmare Foxy. This fan-made version of Foxy is so good, I had to share it with you. It almost looks like at first glance that this version has no face, but his snout is just actually more in tatters than what we're used to seeing on our animatronics. But it really does look like he has no face. If you just look at it really quickly, it's disturbing. Stylized Nightmare Foxy comes with an equally disturbing, oddly thin parrot. Like, this parrot looks like it has been resurrected from the dead, which would also make sense given the state of Foxy here. Foxy himself is in tatters as well, with his calves completely visible. Calves and his feet. This version of Foxy appears to have both feet, no peg leg or anything like that, but still has one hook. The visible endo parts of his legs look strikingly deadly, as though you were about to take on some kind of futuristic Terminator version of the animatronic. This fan-made version of the animatronic was shared on Reddit by That Soup Dude, so thank you, That Soup Dude, for this very disturbing version wherever you are. Out in the world. Number 3. Scrap Foxy. Who even needs a peg leg when you are Scrap Foxy? This version of the animatronic is typically depicted as hopping around on one foot, with his arm potentially also missing. He is the definition of scrappy. Some fan-made scrap versions of the character also show him missing his eyes. Generally, he is in a very severe state of degradation, with whole chunks or limbs missing. And in many cases, his endoskeleton also peeks through. There are also Funtime Foxy versions of this character which are perhaps, I don't know, even more terrifying to look at due to the fact that their colors still appear cheerful and bright. For some reason, when something is cheerful and bright but also like a mess, I don't like that. Number 2. Nightmare Toy Foxy. One of the worst things around, once again because of the contrast from bright to horrific, is Nightmare Toy Foxy. This version of the character is sometimes shown with a slightly larger or more prominent hook and in very bad shape, like most of the Nightmare animatronics. Even still, for some reason, it looks to me like Nightmare Toy Foxy, and most fan-made renderings of it, is always slightly smiling, which makes them even more disturbing to gaze upon. Like many of the other Nightmare animatronics, they have rows and rows of teeth and either have a very stripped down version of a hand puppet on their arm or a larger hook in its place. Like with the prosthetic microphone that Glamrock Foxy is shown wielding, I personally think the tattered hand puppet prosthetic is even more frightening. You can't even tell, I mean, I guess it's got little nubs for its ears? Is this supposed to be like a bonbon? I don't know. Number 1. Twisted Foxy. Twisted Foxy is very disturbing to look at, and is covered in holes that appear to emit, I don't know, toxic spores? He looks like something out of an H.P. Lovecraft story, some eldritch god monster type monstrosity. Twisted Foxy has multiple mouths with rows of sharp teeth, bright yellow eyes frozen in an angered grimace, and like I said, then there are all the holes, which are apparently not just rips, but are actually functional. The stub that his hook is attached to also looks all the more terrifying because of how large it is in contrast to the slim hook that's attached to the end of it, connected only by skin which seems to be wound around its base as though it were like a string. It makes me uncomfortable just talking about it.
In a 10 Rockstar entered. I don't really know what to say about this version. It's just kind of entered with a star on his chest and then maybe a little shorter with an unproportionately large head, and I 100% spelt that wrong in my script. Unproportionately is definitely wrong now that I'm looking at it. But I don't care, auto captions is gonna fix it for me. But still, there isn't really much difference with the Rockstar version if I'm being totally honest, which is why it's so high on this list, but it's still creepy, since like I've established in other videos, incorrectly proportioned heads give me the creeps. Like when I was talking about the original images that Funko leaked of the security breach animatronic figures, thus resulting in design changes. Yeah, but seriously, what the hell, guys? Why? Why did you just add a star to his chest or his sternum, I guess, and then make his head bigger? Like, that's just, it's messed up and hella weird. But don't worry, it gets weirder. And before we move on to those weirder things, especially number 1 because holy Jesus crisp, be sure you're hitting that like button if you love the FNAF content because it lets us know what you want to see more of and helps us against the algorithm almighty. It would really help me. Okay, I'm sorry. And at 9, Stylized entered. What if Ennard was remade by the Galactic Federation in an effort to take down Rick Sanchez? That's basically how I see stylized Ennard, at least when he's black and red. The sleekness that gets added to Ennard honestly makes him much more intimidating. Like before, much like myself, he was a mess, just a hunk of robot flesh with no true purpose, something that he just threw together in an effort to be able to stand. However, when stylized, he has his figured out. No more seemingly random wires, no more being an absolute dumpster of robot parts, and instead, he's on a mission. He wants to get inside you and take over your body. Wow, I never realized how much of a creeper this dude really is. At least when you put it like that and don't take into account the context of the games. Imagine walking up to someone and just saying that and not describing that it was a robot trying to steal your body. They'd think you were talking about the government. Too much? And at 8, Diner Ennard. Michael Afton, the boy who lived, come to die. And I'm not even making a joke, this 100% looks like if Ennard were Voldemort and then watched one too many makeup tutorial videos on YouTube. And when you see it, you will absolutely agree. This is the beauty YouTuber of animatronics. If James Charles, Jeffree Star, Tati Westbrook, and Nikki Tutorials, I think that's their names, had a love child with all their combined genetics and lack of eyebrows, this is what would happen. This is the face of my nightmares. This is the one who is truly behind Dramageddon. And if none of you understand this, this number is truly lost. But I guarantee you 1000% that what I'm saying is absolutely perfectly accurate even if you don't understand it. You need to trust me. I think I've earned it at this point, unless you're new here, in which case, hi, hit subscribe, you'll enjoy your stay. Aha, look at that segue. Can Ennard turn into a segue? And it's 7, Buff Ennard. I looked this up as a joke because Buff Helpy, and it turned out to be a thing, and it makes me upset. This can either be Ennard with just more endoskeleton stuff, like wires, tubes, tentacles. I don't know what to call it, but that metallic stuff on his insides, but more of it, making him look more muscular. Or it could be adding a shell onto him and then giving him a Speedo, and that's the more popular one, unfortunately. And there's one version that gives him a skin tone, okay? It's messed up. Why is this a thing? Why did someone subject me to this? Because now you have to see it. It's just, I don't know what else to say. This is nightmare fuel. At least, as much nightmare fuel as Buff Helpy. But you know what? I think I prefer Buff Helpy to this. At least Helpy is nice. He doesn't want to kill you or shove himself inside you. Wait, that sounds weird. Anyway, he just wants to jump in balls. Okay. A ball pit. He just wants to jump in a ball pit. But Buff Ennard just makes me feel uncomfortable. It's like that one time I went to the gym all over again. And at 6, Scrap Ennard. What the ever-loving hell is this monstrosity? Originally, this was at number 10, and then I moved it to number 8. And then, after looking at it again, I moved it to number 6, because what the living There are so many versions of Scrap Ennard that I just don't understand how Ennard managed to be even more Scrap-like. Ennard is the reason for Scrap Baby already, and Molten Freddy is best described as a scrapped Freddy or Ennard. So in a way, Ennard is the reason for the Scrap animatronics, but the amount of variety with these creations is insane. Some have claws, others have a more rundown mask, and there are a couple that are the absolute pure embodiment of terror. There's nothing that is Ennard aside from the party hat that is even visible, and instead it's covered with the various other fun time animatronics, including Bitty Baps, which just makes me think that this guy is using babies as armor. And that's very Rick and Morty. I like it. Halfway through in at number 5, Repaired Ennard. Usually most of Ennard's scare comes from the fact that he only wears a mask. Other than that, he's just bearing all of his endoskeleton out for the world to see. If you got it, flaunt it, right? Well, after getting used to seeing Ennard without a body, adding one on just makes me feel all kinds of weird. And not how, I feel weird when I see Toy Chica. Or when I'm playing Fury's Rage as Chica. Looking at these, I feel uncomfortable. It's like that one relative that you don't really like, but you still need to deal with around the holidays or at family reunions, if we remember what those are like. But sure, Buff Ennard was the same way, but that was mostly comical. This is unsettling in the worst of ways. Is it just me? Am I the only one who feels like this? Please validate me. Actually, knowing the comments, they're going to say that everything from this list isn't scary, so why am I bothering? Yeah, I'm looking at you. In at 4, Ignited entered. What happens when you retire a game series after just 2 years? Apparently, you get attacked by your creations who aren't happy with being discontinued. That's the premise for the Joy of Creation, a fan game featuring ignited versions of your favorite animatronics. And while the game does currently only contain Ignited Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, and Foxy, with the Joy of Creation Ignited collection thanks to the Fazbear Fanverse initiative, we could be seeing Ignited entered come our way. I mean, I doubt it, but it's possible. Joy of Creation is known as one of the scariest FNAF fan games, so seeing entered as an Ignited version is damn horrifying. The lack of jaw or other appendages, depending on the artist, is certainly something that I would like to avoid if included in the next game. Like, what the holy Jesus crisp is that? Our Lord and Savory. And at 3, Nightmare entered. The beauty of Nightmare versions of animatronics is that they can be anything. There are plenty of directions you can go because everyone will consider different things to be nightmare fuel. Some are very clearly in the style of other Nightmare animatronics, some are a spider-like version that's hunched over and wider than they are long, some have more limbs that are combined with other animatronics like Baby or Funtime Freddy to create a unique nightmare appearance. You can lean more into the clown aesthetic, or you can go a million miles north and do something that nobody else has done, because that's the beauty of it. That's what makes this kind of thing fun, and in doing so you make something that not even Scott himself would have thought of, and that's kind of beautiful, isn't it? Even if all these versions are making my red pants brown and causing me to black out a little bit. Penultimately, in at number 2, Sinister entered. As per usual on this list, we have the classic Sinister entered, based on the fan game Sinister Turmoil. I don't think entered actually was meant to have a character in that game. According to the official Sinister Turmoil fandom page, yes they were, but there's only like 3 images of them and they don't really show much, so most of these versions, while there would have been a Sinister entered had the game released, appear to be fan-made. But these fan-made versions, Jesus, if it's not even entered anymore. It's the Terminator. The sharp teeth, the visible interior, the mask, it's entirely ruined or just not, and that's equally still creepy. In one of them there is even actually like a body to some of it, but it doesn't matter because Sinister entered is an unholy abomination that even Satan wants to send away. I also accidentally spelt Satan like Stan the first time, so I apologize to any FNAF Stan or person named Stan. Or any combination of the two. Although I have to be honest, the FNAF stands aren't always the kindest bunch. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. This thing is a horrifying monstrosity that should have never been created. Although it does look pretty sick, so good job to whoever made these versions. Finally, in at number 1, Anatomically Correct entered. Okay, no joke, I find this thing absolutely terrifying, like a realistic metal zombie in a way. Anatomically Correct entered is best described by its name. It's a version of entered where the metal parts that surround its body, its innards, I guess, are actually anatomically correct. So there's more around the chest and they're in the directions that your muscles would be under your skin, and that makes it horrifying and terribly uncomfortable to look at, especially his face. I don't know what it is about this Ennard's face, but the mask, like without the mask, he just looks like the terrifying villain of a Scooby-Doo movie, but more realistic. Like if the latest iteration of the Scooby Gang with Robbie Amell as Fred Jones had gotten a 3rd movie and they actually tried, this is what it would be. Why was this necessary? Who felt compelled to do this? And why did you subject me to it as well? Because again, now I need to subject everyone else to it, and they're gonna say that it's not scary. What do you expect? They're fictional characters. If you want something actually scary, go check out Most Amazing Top 10. They've got like haunted mirrors that will kill you if you look too close. And if that's not a video already, I'm sorry to whoever will now have to make that video. And at 10, Funtime Bonnie. The Funtime animatronics were introduced in Sister Location, the 5th game in the series. However, Bonnie was actively missing from that lineup, aside from a couple small hand puppet versions that are unsettling on their own. This left a rabbit-shaped hole in our hearts, so Funtime Bonnie was created. Well, was created by fans. We don't think that there is a Funtime Bonnie that actually exists in the lore, like how the Chica version was rented out. You know what I'm talking about. If you've watched other lists about fan versions, you'll know that the Funtimes creep me out. The ability for them to move their faces is wrong, and it's really a selling point behind why they're scary. And at 9, Nightmare Withered Bonnie. Imagine Withered Bonnie but on an illicit substance and you have Nightmare Withered Bonnie. Withered Bonnie is already scary enough with the beating red eyes and the rundown visuals. Even if it's just Nightmare Bonnie with Withered Bonnie's face, it's already even more terrifying. And we all know how Scott feels about normal Bonnie. Add in the Nightmare version and he's already crapping himself, and then add in the Withered version, and then this is the reason he retired. There, I said it. Not because of any controversy or him being tired and wanting to make other games, but because of Nightmare Withered Bonnie. It's an ungodly creation that must be stopped. But actually, it's really cool. Good job to people who made versions of Nightmare Withered Bonnie. I'm not dissing you, it's fine. They're good. And at 8, Nightmare Glamrock Bonnie. Yet another set of animatronics without any Bonnie representation. The security breach Glamrock animatronics, from what we've seen in any trailer so far, don't have a Glamrock Bonnie. He only really appears as the mascot of bowling. However, fans have yet again made Glamrock versions of Bonnie, but those weren't scary. So in classic FNAF fashion, if you want something to be scarier than it is, just throw Nightmare in front of it. And then boom, you have an unholy abomination that will eat your soul and devour your balls. I don't know where that last part came from. Nevertheless, Nightmare Glamrock Bonnie looks exactly how you'd expect a Nightmare version of a Glamrock Bonnie to look, with shoulder pads. Okay? That's probably the scariest part, if I'm being honest. And at 7, Havoc Bonnie. Here we go, the good old classic Dormitibus. Known as probably the most disturbing FNAF fan game, Dormitibus takes place before FNAF 4 and 5 even came out, so before the official after name reveal as well as the Nightmare animatronics. But this is honestly worse than the Nightmare animatronics in my opinion. The thing is, Havoc Bonnie wasn't even in the original Dormitibus. It's a fan creation based on a fan creation, making it one of the most meta versions of Bonnie on this list. Although there is another that's even more meta, but we'll get to that. And the fact that the Dormitibus based version of Bonnie is only number 7 should speak volumes about what's coming up. And no, it's not at number 7 because it wasn't in the original game. The game is hella messed up. I suggest looking it up if you're over the age of 16. I mean, like, I'm gonna put that disclaimer because, like, kids should really not be looking at this kind of thing. It's messed up. Honestly, like, that's not even a joke. And at 6, FNAF Plus Bonnie. FNAF Plus is an in-development fan game funded by the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative. And as I described in the video about the Fanverse timeline, click up in the top right corner for that video, this is probably the deviation point from the main timeline, with other events beforehand remaining largely similar, if not identical. However, this version of not only Bonnie, but the other 2 animatronics as well, are just plain creepy. Bro, like if Funko Pops could actually kill you and wanted to. Not sponsored, but Funko, hit me up. The structure of the head is honestly best described as a Funko Pop vinyl figure, with a wide jaw that would slay any mother who walked in with their kids for their birthday party. But it's so creepy and off-putting. Like, they certainly nailed the creepier and darker theme that these games are going for, because these remakes set me on edge, and it hasn't even come out yet. They put me on edge like I'm Lady Gaga, but I'm on the edge of terror, not glory. Trust me, looking at these horrifying versions is not glorious in the slightest, and neither is making FNAF videos on the daily. Halfway through and at number 5, Nightmare Toy Bonnie. I thought that the Nightmare versions couldn't get any worse, yet here we are. I remember someone commenting on the alternate fan versions of Chica list, saying that it was more like a fan alternate versions of Toy Chica list, but the toy animatronics are just another version of the original, so it wasn't a different list. It's the same thing, so don't pester me about this one this time around. Nightmare Toy Bonnie is a monstrosity that needs to be banished to the depths of hell and then sent by Satan to the empty because he doesn't want to deal with it. And I would understand why. Looking this up, I didn't think I would be as frightened as I was, but holy ever-loving crap, this actually kinda shocked me. The toy aesthetic just seems to make the Nightmare versions even worse. I don't know what it is. It's just like the toy animatronics as nightmares just makes the absolute scariest Nightmare versions, I swear. I don't know what it is. If you have any theories as to why this is a thing, let me know in the comments. And at 4, Ignited Bonnie. Remember when I said it would get more meta? Well, here we are, with the meta levels rising above that of Central City, because Ignited Bonnie comes from the joy of creation, a FNAF fan game where we play as Scott Compton in the real world. Yeah, you heard that right. In this game, you play as the creator of FNAF himself after he retires the series 2 years after the release of the first game. But the animatronics don't like that, and somehow break out of the game to attack Scott, his family, and Michael Afton. This game is also getting a new version as part of the Fazbear Fanverse initiative, and honestly, I'm excited to see what's coming, but I'm curious as to how they'll fit it into the story. Joy of Creation is seen as one of the scariest FNAF fan games, so it's obvious why it would get a new funded version. I feel like Scott also just liked the idea of being a playable character, because I know I sure as hell would. It would give my ego a much needed boost, so I get it, Scott. I get it. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, Draw Kill Bonnie. Draw Kill Bonnie was actually a version I was recommended on previous videos. Multiple comments suggested that I look up the Draw Kill animatronics, and honestly, I'm glad you told me, because goddamn this thing is menacing. Called Bonnie Bot by Draw Kill on DeviantArt, it's a disproportionate Bonnie robot that is actually made to look like metal, instead of being like kind of fuzzy with a metal interior. We all know how I feel about disproportionate things. They always end up making things more off-putting than normal. And the hands on this thing are just gigantic, which makes me think that it's just going to crush me and then use its arm like a hammer and just keep pounding on my head until I'm 6 feet under or just pulverized. These Draw Kill animatronics are damn terrifying, and I'm really thankful for your recommendations. So if you have any other animatronics or animatronic versions that you want me to check out for characters I haven't covered on these lists, be sure you let me know down below, because it will be really helpful when I end up making those videos, and I don't have to use the same 10 keywords over and over again, because Draw Kill is definitely in the reservoir now. We know that I just look up the same things just with different animatronics, let's be honest. Penultimately, in at number 2, Sinister Bonnie. Speaking of using the same 10 keywords over and over again, if you knew these lists, then you knew that Sinister Bonnie was bound to make an appearance. From the unfinished, unreleased, and cancelled fan game Sinister Turmoil, we have Sinister Bonnie, an animatronic best described as a repaired nightmare version. With teeth sharper than Eminem's lyrics and an overall demeanor more intimidating than Dwayne Johnson, the animatronic is some pure nightmare fuel, and it's clear to see why. Every time I see one of these sinister animatronics, I'm glad that this game didn't release. Not because it wouldn't have been good or because the game was just looked awful. I'm sure the game would have been amazing, but because I don't have to deal with these things. I don't have to interact with them anywhere other than still images where they can't actually hurt me. And that's what really matters to me in the long run. Avoiding being scared at all costs. I don't understand why people like feeling scared. Like, I feel like it's probably like a kink thing if you ask me. Cause you know, fear evolved to protect us, and being scared is a bad thing. But nevertheless, these things are so wrong, but so right. At least so right in the scare department, and wrong for my pants, because at this point all of my pants are brown and the laundry room smells atrocious, especially because it's hot outside. Oh yeah. Finally, in at number 1, Slasher Bonnie. Yet another recommendation from the comments, Slasher Bonnie will haunt my nightmares for weeks to come. As if I wasn't scared enough about playing the guitar, Slasher Bonnie turns that into an actual fear by making that thing into a giant axe. Thanks, PlayStation Jedi on DeviantArt. Thanks for causing plenty of restless nights. This damn guitar axe thing is so damn creepy, especially because there is literal blood dripping off the damn thing. I don't know what else to say. Like, I feel like the pictures say it all. If a picture says 1,000 words, then I just need 2 pictures for my script, and then that's the video. I'm done. Like, my scripts are usually around 2,000 words long, which is significantly more than most people, at least at work, I feel. But, like, because, like, I talk fast, which I'm sure you've noticed a lot of people have complained about it, but I mean, like, I can't change the way I talk. That's also why I usually don't have time for comments, because I only have so long to film a video, and that's all filled with information. As long as you keep Slasher Bonnie away from me, I think I'll be okay. Although the Slasher animatronics will also be making more appearances if there are more than the original 4 animatronics, because we've already covered the other ones. Because goddamn, did you see the Chica version? Like, it has a bib that says "Let's kill" instead of "Let's eat." Dear God, why would you do this?